Hey guys, this is Kyle at Projection Hub, and today I'm going to show you how to create a business plan for a hotel that is likely to get you approved for financing. I guess maybe I can't guarantee that, but the purpose of this video is I'm going to show you 5 key points that your lender is going to look at and can really give you the edge when they're trying to make a decision on whether or not they're going to approve that, or even an investor if they're trying to choose to make an investment. And how I'm going to do that is based on the experience of at Projection Hub. We've helped over 50,000 businesses create financial projections for their startups, for their loan applications, for their business plans, for the pitch decks, including many hotels, boutique hotels, Airbnbs, all of them in that category. And actually, before my time with Projection Hub, I was a small business lender for about 7 years and reviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of business plans and applications to help businesses prepare for getting their loan approved and giving them feedback on that. So I'm familiar with that process. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to use this free hotel business plan template. You can get this down in the description of the video, totally free, no strings attached. And I'm going to use this as a guide. I'm going to walk through this. I'm not going to write the business plan for you. It's pre-filled out with like a fictitious hotel example. And I'm going to kind of cover the structure of the business plan. And as I'm going to go through it, there's going to be those 5 key points where I'm going to stop and I'm going to give some additional detail and then some examples of how you could do that section in your business plan to hopefully increase the likelihood that you would be approved for funding or convince an investor to come on board for you. So if at any point you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps us and what we're doing here at Projection Hub. Also consider subscribing to the channel if you want more content. Of course, not all of our content is about hotels, but just about managing businesses in general and your finances around that and growing your business. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. Okay, so why is your business plan necessary or important? Probably obvious to you, but in an industry like hotels and kind of the hospitality industry, the purpose of your business plan isn't to educate the lender or the investor on what the industry is. It's obviously been around for a while, it's pretty clear, but the purpose of the business plan is to focus on demonstrating your specific plan for success. So it's not just describing what it is that you're doing, it's demonstrating the research that you're doing, the ideas that you have, the numbers that you're planning to hit. It's a lot more about the specifics of not just trying to predict the future, but saying this is what I plan to do, and I believe it's going to reach this outcome. And so, as I kind of start to scroll through this, initially you're going to see here in this table of contents, it's not super long. This is just a free template, of course. So you're going to see, headings and subheadings, and then each subheading is going to have a brief description of what should be contained in that subheading, and then a 1 to 2 sentence example for that fictitious seaside crest in Key West, Florida is what we're going to be using our example. So there's going to be several sections in this business plan where your real example should contain more content than this does, or maybe even the section that you think is pertinent to add in. And so the length of your business plan is probably going to fluctuate. But I want to encourage you that, contrary to popular belief, you don't have to have a 50-page business plan, a 100-page business plan for it to be good. I actually think that the opposite is more true. When I was a lender, people would hand us these really long business plans, and that is a lot of work. It's your life work maybe to put into this business plan, but your lender, whoever's reviewing it, has other things to be doing too. And so that means they're going to end up skimming a lot of that, right? They're going to try to pull out highlights, and that increases the chances of them missing some really important details that might be strengths in your hotel's business plan. So jam-pack your business plan with the really important details and try to keep it in that 15, 20-page range. Now, if you need to create a 50-page business plan for your peace of mind to feel like you've covered all your bases and have a good plan, do that as a good exercise for you, but create a separate version where you refine that down to like 20 pages to hand that over to like a potential, stakeholder in the business, because that's just a higher concentrated version for them is a greater success to you. So with that being said, let's start going through the structure of this business plan. So initially we've got the executive summary, and similar to that is the company description. But the executive summary, I want you to think about this as if it was a cover letter to a resume for like a job application. So it's really going to be like a 1-page summary of some of the quick highlights to introduce your business to whoever's reading it. So obviously the overview is going to be things like what's the name, where is it located, a quick description of what makes it special, what are your goals. You can have mission statement, that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, it's just like a hotel. It's not doing anything super groundbreaking. Some people like to include a little section that's like a financial highlight. So maybe that's like what the total investment cost is going to be, or the startup costs, the sources you are planning to secure that funding from, maybe what is your target occupancy rate, some of that kind of stuff, maybe highlights. So you could choose to do that in your executive summary. And then your company description is kind of just more of like it's an extension of that, but more technical details. So you're gonna have some company history in here, your entity's legal structure, your target market, that kind of stuff. So these first 2 sections are, I don't want to call them make or break it, because they can break your business plan if you don't include them, but they're not going to make the difference probably in getting approved for something. So, but they're still important to have. Okay, now moving on to the market analysis. The market analysis is where we are basically going to try and outline that there is room in the market for our hotel. And we're going to try to demonstrate that with some real examples, some real research. And if it is a saturated market and there's not a ton of room in the market, then we also need to demonstrate, well, what are we bringing to the table that's different? What opportunity are we recognizing? Is that poor reviews of the hotels in the area, poor customer service of the hotels in the area? Maybe there's a different price point that has been occupied. So that's what we kind of want to outline. And this is going to bring us to key point number 1, which is, well, market analysis. But the key point itself is when I mentioned specific examples of some research we could do, anything we can provide here, any data to help reinforce what we're saying the state of the market is. So you're going to have in here, industry overview. That doesn't mean like national or global. That means like local, like where your competitive market is. And you can analyze some competitors, who's your specific target market, who's your target audience, and the market opportunities. And so maybe, there's one way you could do this where that's pay for a market research study and do that whole, 9 yards and pay for that professionally to be done. But maybe some examples of a free version of that is just do some research on your own and some boots on the ground research. And so you can see some examples here. Like one would be conduct a survey among tourists in the area. So if you're local to that, you could kind of hustle and do some surveys of people in the area. And I think these two are actually pretty good examples. Example 2 would be make a list of all of the hotels in your area, right? This example is Key West, Florida, which maybe wasn't the best example because obviously that's a really big tourist destination. And you may not be trying to start a hotel in that popular or touristy you could probably build any hotel in Key West, Florida, and that's probably not going to have a super difficult time, getting people to show up. But something you could do, and there's a ton of hotels in Key West, Florida, but make a list in your area of all the hotels that you think you're competing with, and then try to check their occupancy. You can try and call them or go online and see if you can book it and just see what their occupancy is like. Is it, you can see what their peak rate might be, just do some general research and try to find out like how full are the hotels in your area? Is there any opportunity there? And then one thing I really like to do is you can create a free Google AdWords account. And then there's a tool here called the Keyword Planner. And you can essentially put in keyword search phrases that people would search on Google. And it's going to show you how often that search phrase is being searched and some trends around it and some other ideas of related keyword search terms. And so I just put in here, hotels in Key West, Florida, hotels in Key West. So you want to think about what your target customer might be searching for when you want to show up for what they're searching for. And so I have the location set to all locations, right? You could set this to, maybe we just want it to be the United States, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, anyone in the United States could be looking for a hotel. Now it could be anyone in the world, but you get it. You can kind of do whatever you want. But a hotel, you're a destination, so you don't want to just know what people in your area are searching for. And so here we can see, one thing to point out is the seasonality of the nature, right? You can see all these search, how they like kind of peak, which is probably in the spring or early summer. But what I'm more interested in here is this trend data. So we have a 3-month change of 0%. And that's probably because, we're kind of in the throes of summer. So spring break is behind us. And so we've reached the peak and we're coming back down, to earth. So that's not super interesting to me. What's interesting to me is the year-over-year change. So that kind of levels out the seasonality. And what this is telling me is there's still an 83% year-over-year growth in hotels in Key West. That to me is indicating that there's a demand. It's growing significantly for people looking for hotels there. Now, this doesn't tell me if there's enough hotels there to support that. That might be where you're checking in on the occupancy rate of the hotels around you, which ones you think you're going to compete, price point, what are the reviews like? And you're just basically you want to combine all this data to reinforce the fact that there's demand in the area. There's 4 other hotels in your same price point. 2 of them have terrible reviews and they're all booking out, a couple of months and have really low vacancy rates or something like that. That is reinforcing your point that there's demand there for that. So repeat that same practice for your target location, and that might give you some supportive ideas. And you can get an idea for what are other things people are searching for down here, but they're all growing a lot in this area. So that's an indicator that, it's pretty high, that you're probably going to have a good market share there. Okay, jumping back into, and include that stuff in your business plan. That's what I mean by real examples of research versus just like, we're going to build it and people are going to show up. You want to get some examples there. Okay, next is the marketing and sales strategy. So we're going to highlight the products and services. So this will be your chance to kind of outline the type of hotel. What's your price scale going to be? What kind of amenities are you going to offer? Your pricing strategy. How are you going to sell to them? Your distribution channels. You're going to have a website. You're going to have social media. Okay, so all of those things are expected. That's kind of like your minimum lift, your minimum effort is to include these things. Now, what you can do to set it apart is key point number 2, which is customer acquisition demonstration. So similar to market analysis, we demonstrated research that the market exists. Same thing in key point 2. We can talk about what we're going to sell and maybe how we're going to sell it in a few different places. But to really make it shine is specific examples or ideas of things we've done or we're planning to do to get those customers in the door. that are more detailed than just we're going to have a website, right? So we want to avoid the sentiment of build it and they will come. We want to give some sort of assurances that we are hustling and doing what it takes to make sure that this is a success. Now, a hotel in Key West, Florida, again, maybe not the best example because you probably can build it and people will come, but just think about this for a hotel in any other place. So let's think about a hotel is an industry where, we have the word traction here, which is a very tech word. And that is related to industries where maybe before launch or official launch, you can do some things to get some momentum rolling, right? That might be like beta testers or, pilot tests and all that kind of stuff. Whereas a hotel, that's kind of tricky to do because it's not cheap to acquire or build a hotel, and you can't really do a lot of pre-revenue work before the building actually exists. So people aren't going to book in advance and all of that stuff. So some ideas of this might be, okay, again, collaborate with local travel agencies and form some partnerships. That's probably not going to happen pre-launch. That is a good thing to do. I like this example 2 and 3, organize a pre-launch event and start getting maybe signups for it. That gives you an indication that okay, we're building some awareness. People know this is happening. People are interested. Do some social media giveaways for the grand opening or launch, get some influencers interested and people applying to win a free trip to your hotel, and you're going to offer the lodging for free or something like that, and try to build some buzz around it. That'll build some hype around what you're doing. Even if you're not located in a tropical spring break location, there's still some things you can do. Partner with attractions and amenities of things in your area to try and build a comprehensive offering to someone that wins a giveaway. They'll get their free lodging and then 4 or 5 excursions in your local area of things to do, and give that away as a sweepstakes or something like that. So you can talk about those ideas, but the example of traction is actually doing it. It's the list of names. So let's say you did example number 3 in your business plan. You might say we've built a following of 20,000 people. We have a sweepstakes going right now of people signing up to potentially win a trip, and we have 1,700 names on it, or something like that. Or maybe before you launch the hotel, people that sign up on this list get a discount on a stay there for the first year, and you've got 3,500 people on that list. Those are examples of traction. You're not just sitting there waiting to open the doors and expecting people to show up. Include those numbers, those ideas, those initiatives in your business plan. Okay, moving on. Facility and maintenance operations plan. This is kind of like the logistics of how you're actually going to operate your hotel. I don't think that this is anything probably all that surprising to you, but there is a key point here. And as we want to make sure that we reference, and you could also, to scroll back up here, when we were talking about the company description, you could do it here as well. But what you want to highlight is your relevant industry experience. So you don't have to have a lifelong career in the hotel or hospitality space to necessarily justify opening your own hotel, but it's not a small endeavor or a small investment, and not massive margins on hotels sometimes, especially smaller hotels. And so it's important that your lender has confidence that you know what you're getting yourself into and you know what you're doing. When I was a lender, we would often see people who would spend a lifetime in a certain career, and then they would decide they wanted to start a business in something they had zero experience, in doing that. And it's not that that was an immediate no as the lender, but it did create a lot of questions and some skepticism. And so the reason I say that is because it just becomes another hurdle to overcome when your lender has concerns about you having the experience to get the job done. So include your relevant experience. If it's a really obvious experience, like you worked in a hotel or you managed a hotel, perfect, that's great. Even if it's not necessarily that, but maybe you have experience doing business development or advertising, or I don't know, cleaning or any aspect of the business, include that. Or if you have a partner or key employees that have significant experience in the industry, include that as well. Help give some of that assurance that you guys know what you're getting yourself into. Okay, and here's the big one, the financial projections. So obviously Projection Hub, we're a little biased, but even in my time, again, as a lender before Projection Hub, this was by far the most important part of any business plan that we would review. We would spend a lot of time reviewing it. So you can see what's included in here. There's a breakdown of the startup costs, what those are estimated at, the breakdown of where we expect those funds to come from. We've got some breakdown of the revenue projections here, as well as the cost of goods sold, gross profit, operating expenses, net income, just in a quick snapshot there. Some hotel specific data, like the total nights we're planning to sell over the next 5 years. Our hotel is going to include a restaurant and a spa and an event space. So there's some details around that included. We've got some key ratios for this industry, breakdown of our monthly operating expenses. We've got a 5-year financial statement pro forma for the income statement and cash flow. You could also include balance sheet. We've got a break-even analysis here. And all of those charts were generated using this hotel, restaurant, spa, and event center template that is available on our website. I've also linked it down in the description below. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll also give you a discount code if you'd like to give it a look and give it a try. But real quick overview, it's just super simple. It's 4 input tabs where you're going to just fill in these blue boxes with your relevant information. You know, you have a loan, what assets you need to purchase, do you have any investors? It's going to as you fill these projections, it's going to calculate if you have enough cash to do what you're trying to do. What makes this template different is you can pick up a lot of templates out there where it'll just ask for your estimated monthly revenue. This is actually going to help you calculate it based upon industry or hotel specific assumptions. So you'll have your unit types or your room types, the price for those, your costs, your direct cost for those, your vacancy, your occupancy rates. There's a seasonal version of this template as well that comes with purchase, and your direct labor that's involved. If you have a restaurant, again, inside the hotel, room service, if there's a spa, you can do that. If there's an event space. So operating expenses, and then if you have any salaried employees, those will go in here. And the template's just going to generate all these charts and the financial statement pro formas that you're going to need, that your lender's going to want, both broken down by year and month for 5 years. So quick shameless plug, that's linked down in the description below. If you pay someone to have your projections created or you already have your projections, great, but make sure you get those included in here. Okay, so financial projections are not key point number 4 because you should just expect to include them. They're a requirement to be in your business plan. Key point number 4 is that they need to be realistic. You might be wondering, well, if I've never had a hotel before, how do I know exactly what's realistic? And I guess you wouldn't, but the internet knows. So if we go back up to our projections here, you're going to see, especially on this page here, these right here, we're going to see all kinds of hotel specific jargon and terminology that we can just go and look for averages, industry averages, especially this key ratios. Okay, so 2 places you could look for this. Just go to Google, typical profit margin for a hotel. You could even try to get specific than typical profit margin for a hotel in Florida or Key West and see if it gives us some data. So we know we're talking healthy rule lies around 10%. Okay, let's go back to our business plan. And okay, profit margin, we're at 4%, 10%, 13%, 18%. So that's a really good place to be. It's okay for years 4 and 5 to get a little optimistic, a little inflated, as long as years 1, 2, 3 are maybe a little more conservative to be realistic there. You could also use an AI chat tool. If you like ChatGPT or Bard, you can ask questions there. It's going to give you a little bit more detail answers to those. But again, it's still giving us that similar range. So do that for as many numbers as you can in your projections, just to make sure you feel like you're in range. If that's your operating expenses as a percentage of your sales, look that up. Those are great things to kind of weight how realistic are your projections based upon industry averages, and do those checks before you turn over your projections. If you use someone like Projection Hub to help create your projections, we offer complimentary reviews of your projections. So we'll kind of give it a once over and make sure it seems pretty good for us and that there's nothing sticking out before you hand it over to a lender. But yeah, and that is our 4th key point, but we're missing one more. I'm right at the end of the business plan, and that is demonstrating skin in the game. Now, this is a tricky one, especially for something like hotel, because we're talking pretty big numbers. And so especially if a hotel is involved or a large loan, this is probably, it could get up into the side of like, maybe it's not so much small business anymore, it's getting a little bit bigger. All this is to say is basically be prepared to put things on the line for your business. Now, in like a hotel, you got the building. So that's pretty much your collateral right there. You're getting a loan probably to buy the building. So buy the building, and then like that's your collateral. So collateral isn't going to be as much of an issue. You just need to kind of prove that cash flow is going to work out well. In the event that for some reason there's a collateral shortfall, you might have to consider personal assets if you have any to be able to secure that. But just be prepared to demonstrate what you're putting in. Don't expect the lender to finance 100% of the project, or for you to have nothing to lose, if it goes under. So just be prepared for that. You don't have to walk to the banker and say, here's all the things you can have. Just be prepared to know what you have to offer if that conversation comes up. And there you have it. That's the 5 key points to make your hotel business plan as good as you can for a lender. Again, grab this business plan template for free down in the description of this video. As promised, I was going to give you a promo code for sticking with me if you are interested in the projection template. And here you go. PH20BP will give you 20% off the hotel financial projection template. If you have any questions, reach out at support@projectionhub.com, and we will personally follow up and answer any questions you've got, and even help you with, if you buy the template, we can answer questions about that too. So like the video if this was helpful for you, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks.